Hi, I'm Balaji Pasumarthy, and my passion is to liberate entrepreneurs from the constraints that they might face. Let's start with a perfect picture of business. We all know that a dream scenario looks like this. The best business to be in is one where you are doing exactly what is instinctive for you. It is, child's play for you. You aren't forcing it. You aren't overthinking it. You're operating entirely on your gut feel and muscle memory. And yet, you're creating immense value for others. That's the best business to have, isn't it? In this state, there is no friction. It flows. You're playing to your natural strengths, your natural inclinations, your natural instincts. But here is the hard truth we face as entrepreneurs. To reach that state or to scale past our current plateau, we eventually hit a wall. We encounter a specific need in our business, a skill, a capability, a leadership trait that we do not currently possess. And the trap is thinking, I'll just hire someone for that. The reality is, there are certain new instincts required for your business that you simply cannot delegate. These are the skills that are so critical to your specific vision and your specific business model that you need to make them part of your own muscle memory. This is where the friction begins. This is where you have to leave the zone of natural talent and enter the zone of deliberate struggle. We have to struggle, learn, experiment, and take something that feels completely alien and make it familiar. We have to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. Now, doing the uncomfortable comfortably sounds like a nice slogan for a poster, but let's break it down what that actually feels like practically. Think back to something that is currently pure muscle memory for you. Let's take driving a car. Today, when you drive, you aren't thinking about the mechanics of it. You're thinking about maybe your tasks for the day or the podcast you have been listening to. Your hands and feet just know what to do. But what is it like when you started to learn driving? It wasn't like this. Absolutely not. I want you to remember that very first week behind that wheel. There was fear, there was uncertainty, there were fits and starts. You were hyper aware of everything: the mirror, the clutch, the erratic auto rickshaw next to you. It was exhausting. But you didn't quit. You had a supportive environment, maybe a driving instructor or a patient family member to coach you. You took those baby steps, and through repetition, that overwhelming complexity collapsed into a simple, unconscious instinct. This process, moving from fear to flow, is the fundamental algorithm of growth. But as we get older and deeper into our careers, we often stop doing this. We stick to what we are familiar with. I want to share with you how I relearned this process, first personally, and then how we applied it to scale a business to number one in the world. Some of you know me as a person standing in front of a large audience and speaking, but that is not who I was naturally. If you know me years ago, you'd know that speaking is not something I do instinctively. In a group sitting, I was and I am invariably the most silent person in the room. I was the observer, not the orator. But then I was invited to a Toastmaster meeting. I sat in the audience and I was mesmerized. Watched people walk onto the stage and speak with such confidence. They conveyed complex messages with absolute clarity. And sitting there, a thought struck to me. A very quiet but very distinct thought. I want to do that. I want to pause here because this is the ignition switch. I want to. That feeling is the key to doing something uncomfortable. It isn't I should or I have to. It is I want to be that person. I realized that if I said to myself I cannot be a public speaker, I would never have. I first had to change who I was being. I had to tell myself I can be a good public speaker. I had to step into the possibility of that identity. So I joined Toastmasters. I submitted to their system. I accepted peer mentoring. It wasn't an overnight fix, it took years. This is the first framework I want you to take away. Be, do, have. Be, I had to be the person who believed they could speak in public. Do, I had to do the speeches, the drills, the feedback sessions. Have, eventually, I had the skill. Now, having the skill is great, but how do we apply this in a complex business organization? How do we take this from personal growth to organizational success? So let's look at a concrete business example. My partners and I launched BNI Bangalore in 2007. And honestly, we came out of the gate flying. In the first year, we had over 100 members. We were the talk of the BNI world. But then we hit a speed bump. Things slowed down. The initial excitement faded. We started facing retention issues, scaling issues. We realized that our first burst of growth was just low-hanging fruit, our close friends and networks joining us. Once that pipeline dried up, we didn't have the instincts to sustain it. It got bad enough that the national director called me up in 2009 and said, Balaji, things are looking bad. You need to do something about it. I asked him the golden question, what should I do? He gave me advice that changed how I operate forever. He said, why not find out from other executive directors who are doing very well? It sounds obvious, but how often do we actually do it? I went to the global convention with a mission. In 1 week, I did meetings with 21 executive directors individually. And these people were excelling in building up their BNI regions. I wasn't looking for tips or tricks. I was looking for the deeper architecture of their success. I was looking for patterns. I was asking myself 2 things about them. What are their beliefs? What are the key principles? In short, what are their mindsets about building a BNI region? What are their activities? What do they actually do? What are the practices that is happening in their regions? In short, the methods. What are their methods? By the end of the week, I had copious notes. One early morning, before flying back to India, I sat down and distilled everything. I looked for the common denominators. I was looking for patterns. I created a document called The Essence of BNI Bangalore. I came back, gathered my partners, and said, this is how we are running BNI from now on. I explained the mindsets we needed to adopt and the methods we needed to execute. and I explained in detail the why behind every single one of them so that they had the belief. I didn't just try to work harder. We changed the DNA of the operating system based on what was already working for the best in the world. 2 years later, in 2011, we were back at the BNI Global Convention. We were having lunch when Norm Dominguez, the COO of BNI, walked up to me and said, Balaji, do you know that BNI Bangalore is number one in the world? I didn't even know there was a ranking. We hadn't chased the ranking, we had chased the instinct. This experience solidified the framework that I want to share with you. It builds on the be do have, but makes it actionable for business. It is mindsets, methods, manifestation. Let's break it down. What is manifestation? Manifestation is the I have. Okay? This is the outcome. This is the fulfilling business. Maybe number one ranking, a scalable product, a fulfilling business. This is usually where we start. We know what we want. Then we come to mindsets, the being part. Who are we being? These are the key principles and values. Who do we need to be? What are the beliefs regarding the business model that we need to hold? What are the key principles? These are the mindsets. Then we have the methods, the doing part. These are the day-to-day activities that we need to be engaged in as individuals and as a team. What are the habits? What is the execution strategy? Where should we be focused on a day-to-day basis? Mindsets, methods, manifestation. When we need a transformation, it usually means we are unfamiliar with the mindsets and methods required for that next level. So, what is the process? The process really is to first clarify the manifestation, be crystal clear on I want this, then you research what's working. Here is where you have two paths. Sometimes the template already exists. Just like when I wanted to speak, I found Toastmasters, or was it Toastmasters found me? The system already exists. I just had to plug in. But sometimes, if it's not available, you have to study the core principles deeply, like I did with the BNI directors. You have to synthesize the insights. You make the template. You explicitly define the mindsets and methods required. And then you create time and space. You must be intentional about it. Set aside time to become familiar with the mindsets and practice these new methods. You cannot find time for transformation. You have to make it. So that's why I say you have to do it with intention, with intensity. And that's the key. Intention with intensity. And next, you take small steps. You repeat them until the uncomfortable becomes muscle memory. I don't want you to think this is a history lesson. This is a continuous practice. Currently, I'm personally applying this framework to something that intimidates me. Application development, mobile or web apps. As part of the LEC Liberated Enterprise creators, I have a clear manifestation. I want a learning platform that leverages AI and our community knowledge to accelerate the learning for all of us in LEC, the alchemists. But I could hire this out, right? I could tell some software development firm to do it, but I want to do it myself. Why? Because I dislike the friction between my thoughts and the implementation. I want the instinct to build what I can see in my mind, experiment, and go ahead with it. So, my manifestation is clear. My mindset has to shift. I had to stop telling myself I'm a non coder and start believing I can create robust, scalable apps with the help of AI. But I was and possibly am still missing the methods. I didn't know the guardrails, the stacks, or the coding process. So I'm back in the student's seat. Every morning, while having breakfast, I'm watching YouTube videos on these topics. I'm using AI to automate spreadsheets or small experiments. I'm using no code tools to create LEC apps already. But these are small projects. These are the baby steps of driving the car. I'm in the learning and experimentation phase. I'm bringing intention with intensity to my mornings as well as those short bursts of time when I'm developing something. The mindsets and methods align and the manifestation happens naturally. That is the process. This brings me to the work we are doing here together in LEC, in the Wisdom Lab, and so on. I mentioned that for public speaking, I had Toastmasters, a ready made system I could plug into. The Liberated Enterprise Creators, LEC, is designed to be that template for you entrepreneurs. It is the solution for entrepreneurs who feel trapped in a golden cage where the business is successful but you are stuck. We shift the focus to enjoying the work, ensuring it's personally fulfilling for you and your team. We help you tap into the instincts you already have to stay in the flow, but simultaneously, we provide the mindsets and methods to develop new instincts critical for scaling without struggle. Think of it this way: LEC is the Toastmasters for creating a business that is fulfilling. It provides the environment to gain tangible success while ensuring you feel right about it. Fulfilling, that's the key word. The journey of an entrepreneur is not just about capitalizing on what you already know. It's about the relentless pursuit of the things you don't know and making them part of you. We often look at success and think it's magic. It isn't. It is simply being, doing, having. And for a business, we need to first understand what are those mindsets, what are the methods, so that we can manifest what we really want. And from there, at a personal level, we define who we want to be, what we should be doing, so that we can have what we really desire. If you are stuck, or if you are looking for the next quantum leap, ask yourself, what is the manifestation I want? And then look for a template. Is there a template which is already existing and it is working? So what's working? Look for it. And if you don't have a ready-made template, you need to build it yourself. What are the mindsets I need to adopt? What are the methods I need to practice? Figure those out. Apply intention with intensity. Doesn't have to be all the time. Remember, then it becomes stress. 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours a week, 6 hours a week. That's it. Intention with intensity. Take the small steps. And eventually, you will find that the things that once scared you have become your strongest instincts. Build a business around your instincts. Grow to the next level by cultivating new instincts. Become unstoppable.